Welcome back to Marketing Connected. I'm your host, Xinying, and you're tuned into In Conversation, a series where we, as the title suggests, are in conversation with the industry's brilliant minds and experts. In this episode, we have Michael la Cour in the studio with us, IKEA Singapore's newly appointed country retail director. He brings with him over 2 decades of global retail and leadership experience across Europe, the US, and Southeast Asia, with a strong focus on sustainable food and organizational innovation. With that, thanks for joining us on this episode, Michael.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming. Congratulations, I guess, first off on the new role.
Thank you.
And this recording we're doing is quite early on in your role. So
Yes.
You've only been there currently, I think, about...
I started officially in the position the 1st of September, but started out in Sweden. Everything starts in Sweden with IKEA. That's the cradle of the culture. So I, after a couple of years of absence from IKEA, went back in and got acquainted with the roots, which is very, very important in everything we do, and particularly in the marketing parts. And then I came to Singapore mid-September.
Right, but the brand itself is nothing new to a lot of people, I'm pretty sure. Like all of us here, I think there's a couple of people else in the room, Rez is here. I'm sure the people watching know who IKEA is. Okay, but first off, is it IKEA or IKEA?
Well, if you come from Sweden or Denmark as I do, it's IKEA. But as we have expanded across the world, it's taken on many forms and pronunciations. And I think particularly the whole IKEA thing
Debate,
took
yeah.
a sort of a next level debate when we entered the US. And at some point, we realized that we probably weren't going to succeed teaching the Americans to say IKEA. So the whole first marketing campaign was actually playing on that whole thing. Should it be IKEA or IKEA? I think we accept either way of pronunciation as long as you talk about IKEA or IKEA. Yes.
Speaking of which, is there one IKEA product that you really like?
I have many products. I think if I take sort of, I've been in the company for more than 20 years. And then you sometimes have the luck. I've been in IKEA of Sweden where we do design, and I worked for many years as CEO of the food division. So I'd say from the food part, which is a massive part of IKEA, there's more people that come to eat at IKEA, and Singapore is very much known for the restaurants.
Yes, eating.
Yes, it is the vegetables, when we try to really deliver alternatives to the meatballs that are healthier, better for the environment. That's something I was very proud of being part of. And then in the range, we have a product called Strandmon, which is a it's a chair, armchair, which is one of our top sellers now that we actually took from the historical library of IKEA. It was a product all the way back from the 50s. And what we can see now with IKEA being a company that's almost 75, 80 years old, there's a lot of design heritage we can actually reintroduce with great success.
And I think also because like millennial consumers nowadays, they're looking for something a bit more retro, a bit more mid-century style. So all of these old IKEA pieces, I think I've seen even some Instagram accounts bring out all these archival pieces and go like, this is some historical 80s IKEA furniture, and everyone's going crazy about it.
Yeah, and you can see IKEA design products on all of these pages where you resell and eBay and the likes, whatever they're called all over the world. And they're really, really popular. And so we've seen over the past few years that if we go in specific types, they can actually resonate on a broader context,
Yes, maybe first off, honing into your role at IKEA Singapore. IKEA itself is such a recognizable name and brand all across the world. So for a mature market such as Singapore, does brand awareness, is it still an important part of marketing when you're so well recognized already? What does brand building actually look like for you guys in 2026?
I think it's highly appreciated that the awareness is so high, and it is high in Singapore. But it kind of commits in a way. We need to consistently deserve that awareness. So it's a consistent focus of ours to become or stay relevant for the customers in Singapore. We have about 8.5 million visitors in the stores. I think it's been part of most Singaporeans' upbringing. I would guess most Singaporeans have been to an IKEA store at some point.
I believe so.
And we want to stay that way. So building the brand is a little bit like a culture. You consistently have to adapt, you consistently have to develop it. The relationship with the customers is an ongoing relationship. That comes with a range. It comes with how we want to meet the customers. It comes with how we interact with the customers. That's what really creates a brand, and that's how we also then use that in marketing.
Another really interesting thing that I noticed myself as a consumer, the brand itself,
Yeah.
very Swedish in itself. You can see the product names, they're all in Swedish words. Then there's also a little bit of a touch when you go into a local store.
Yeah.
Like go into the Singapore one, I know it's a Singaporean IKEA store, but it's still rooted in the Swedish culture. Yet
Yeah.
I feel that cultural relevance.
Yeah.
How do you guys bring that about and balance that?
Yeah. You know, as we have expanded throughout the world, and that expansion started actually in the 80s, 90s, and so forth, we've always kept a core. The range is sort of the identity we always talk about. But then we speak with a German accent in Germany, Singapore with a Singaporean, and Malaysia with a Malaysian accent. So we have a core range, and then we can adapt it with certain market-specific products. But it's also such a wide range with so many possibilities that you can actually combine it to the living situation in a given market. And if you have that experience in the store, then we've succeeded to actually reflect what the living situation is in Malaysia. But to a large extent, it's the same range. And it's the same way you as a customer can do it. You know, there is such a width in the range that you can actually customize it. So it's our range, but it's your identity that actually comes through in your home. So I'm really happy to hear that you experience it like that. So it's not that the concept is very different, but we can execute it flexible enough to make it feel relevant for you.
I like that thought about like customizing it to living situations. And also globally, IKEA has leaned into a lot of collaborations. We've seen design-led capsules and also culturally resonant moments. With self-expression, I think increasingly shaping how people curate and decorate their homes. How is IKEA Singapore adapting its product mix or storytelling to appeal to these group of people?
Yeah, the starting point is a little bit what I just said. The range gives you such a wealth of opportunity to make the living situation reflect what it is in a given market. Now, if we talk about Singapore, the Singaporean market, Singapore is quite specific compared to many other markets I've been in with the PTOs, the HDBs, the structures that we have. That should be reflected in how we present our range. The specific requests in this market is very much affordability at all times, of course. It's about organization. We have limited space compared to many other markets, and then it's good quality. So that should also come through. So there you have already a lot of opportunities to make your space, your home, as unique to you as you would want it to be. Then if you add on the textiles, the tactile feel of different materials, that's another layer of customization for you can make. And then the last part is, of course, that we will consistently come out with different collections, different things that are maybe time-phased. So the Gustav Westman, for instance, his winter collection that was both time-phased and limited editions that come in as sort of like specialty pieces. And that was a collection that in the best pieces sold out in a matter of hours.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Hours. This is just purely online or like in stores?
No, that will always be primarily in stores.
Wow.
We would like to make no secret of, we would like you to come to our stores. We would like you to be inspired. We have interior designers that spend all their time and all their pride in building these room sets that should inspire you to take whatever fits your living situation.
That's very interesting also because like it sells out within hours. Are you guys bringing it back?
No, because that would kind of defeat the purpose a little bit. I think when you do these sorts of limited series, you want people to be excited, and now I want you to be curious when we come with the next collection, and hopefully I'll meet you in the queue.
Hopefully. After Christmas, Chinese New Year, we've got a lot more festive stuff.
We have
lined up.
4 great occasions here. It's one
Yes.
market where we have more reasons to celebrate than many other, which is great.
That's great. And I guess also locally, we see a lot of trend-jacking pieces, cultural conversation-led work. How do you decide what's important to be a part of the conversation and what could lead to backlash? Because I think you mentioned that like in Singapore, there's a very specific kind of culture and the way people talk and also about the BTOs and everything.
Yeah.
And I think paired with that, there's also a lot of trends going on there.
Yeah.
So taking into context, cultural understanding, how would you guys deal with
Yeah.
the situation?
And it's a quite complex question and answer in that sense that as we have expanded, I think we've made our mistakes where we've not understood a cultural context well enough. I think there's some well-known cases that we learned from. And luckily, the IKEA culture is very strong. And one of the, I think, most important pillars that I've benefited a lot from is that it's okay to make mistakes as long as you learn from them. We actually celebrate when we make our mistakes. And, we've had maps up in Korea which had the wrong naming of, I believe it was the sea, which gave a cultural backlash due to history that we weren't aware of. So what we've learned is to really ensure a very tight dialogue with the society we're with. IKEA builds a lot of its range on home visits. And as we've started to spread out, that's what we do. And in the conversation with our customers, we have one of the biggest consumer clubs, if you will. To be in very, very close contact with the customers, hopefully can guide us through these things. And then I think we also, as a brand, we have to take on the role of being a good corporate citizen. So when there are things that require a standpoint, we have to dare to do so. We can talk about sustainability, for instance. We have a very clear direction on sustainability. We've taken very clear stance, if I refer to the food business where I was on, where we said we're going to battle food waste, for instance, and other things. And I think increasingly you also have to be aware that that's an expectation on us. And we need to take those discussions and hopefully we can convince people why we're taking certain stands.
But I do have to say that there have been some that were very witty and very genius. So it's not really, I think the recent one would have been the Trump one. There's something to do with the tariffs and then China and dishes.
Yes. Yes.
And I thought that was a bit fun because it's culturally relevant. It's politics. Everyone reads the news.
Yes.
You're all up to date on it.
Yeah.
But then you suddenly throw this and you go like, haha.
Yeah. And I have to highlight, actually, on a global level, Singapore stands out. For being usually the poster child on being a little bit faster on this, twinkle in the eye sort of marketing. And that's something I really hope we can continue to do. I think that's also part of the IKEA culture, not to take things so darn serious and not to be too corporate and dare to, smile at situations and so on. But that was a good one. We've done the book. There's a lot of things coming out of Singapore.
Oh, excited. I like how it's described as a twinkle in the eye marketing. I think back to the parts about the younger consumers, because I think that's what's on every retailer's minds.
Yeah.
How do you get the younger consumers to buy your products, essentially? And what we're seeing is that they're gearing towards more immersive, interactive retail. They want to see, they want to experience, they want to be there themselves. So for example, I think in IKEA Malaysia recently, they experimented with a very large scale event.
Yeah.
Like a house, they called it a house party.
Right.
And they held it inside IKEA itself, which I thought was just amazing because you can go there, there's a DJ playing, you've got like little experiential booths. Is IKEA Singapore exploring similar unconventional formats like the house party in Malaysia? Or does the Singapore market call for a different approach?
No, I don't think it calls for a different approach. I think the movement we're seeing is the same, whether it's Malaysia or Singapore. It might be nuances, but it's similar. In many ways, I don't really think it's so very new because I sometimes refer to the IKEA store as the original social media. Because if you go back a couple of years, there was not many other places with that much visitation. I believe it must be in the top retail destinations in Singapore still, with 8.4 million visitors, right? It was where people met. Nowadays, it can be many other places online, but it's really the original social media. And I remember from the past, we had sleepovers in the stores to promote
I think I've
the
seen that
beds.
before.
Yeah. So there's been a lot of these throughout the world, a lot of innovative things. So I think there's a continued focus on these kind of things. In Singapore, we'll do a lot of these things as well. It's important for us to interact as good as we can, and you need to interact in a way that's relevant. So if it's house parties that's required, well, then it's house parties.
Or sleepovers.
If it's sleepovers that's required, then that's the case. We've had family days for
Yes.
in the stores as well. But the store is our medium to bring people together and meet people, no matter how it's supposed to be. So we will focus a lot on that, on these kind of activities.
Yeah, and I heard that the family day was quite a staple
Yeah.
for Singaporeans. I think then, what is the retail experience that you're looking to provide in Singapore? Would it be very heavy on the interactive side, the experiential side, or is there something else on the top of mind? And can that really translate to online? I think because a lot of brands are struggling to replicate that O2O experience.
Yeah. What I can say, the entire retail world faces now challenge of online versus brick and mortar. There's no doubt that we will be in both areas and we'll play in both areas. We will also expand our experience with IKEA throughout the state. We have our two traditional stores in Tampines and in Alex. IKEA has, over the last many years, or a couple of years at least, 10 years perhaps, started exploring into city stores. So we have a good experience in how to make that work, and it's been a success ever since. Then we have Jurong,
Yes.
which is in a mall.
A bit smaller scale.
Smaller scale. It's in 3 floors, which forces us to work in different ways, forces us to work in a different way with how we market ourselves. We need to change how we meet you as a customer in a different way, because the entire range is not there.
Yeah.
So then you go
You
a
don't
little
really
bit
have
online.
like that landing area like you have in the big Alexandra stores.
Precisely.
Or Tampines.
Yeah. So we're learning on the road, and I think what we're looking into, there's no secret in sharing that, is of course how should we meet all of Singapore in a relevant way. We are online, we do have the stores, but perhaps we need to have other meeting points, customer meeting points throughout the state. We will also focus a lot on home design service. We know that there's about 18,000 new BTOs per year. And we would like to be there as well as an option for you to furnish your home fully, because we can do that, or partly. So that requires also that we take some of the home furnishing design competence I spoke about earlier that you can see in the store out in your home. And that's another way of meeting you in the future as well. So I think we'll explore a lot of different avenues that you'll see come to life over the next few years.
I think also touching on online and offline experiences. So what we've heard is that online transactions for IKEA grew 28% globally and rose by 37.9% in Singapore from the year before. I guess yet, even with that number, home furnishing remains very tactile category.
Yes.
How do you plan to marry the digital part of it with physical inspiration? Like you say, like you want people to come in to touch and feel and to see what they're buying, to create that seamless experience for Singaporeans.
Right. I think that it's important to understand where the growth comes from. It's when we go what we call market hall, so everything you would have like in your kitchen, bathroom, small utensils and stuff like that. We see a quite large increase, and we see a lot of other players coming in that market. People tend to want to go to the store when it's about a sofa, it's about a kitchen, it's about wardrobes. You need to feel it, you need to see it, you know, you need to, you just have to think about it a little bit more than just an impulsive buy.
Maybe also because you spend so much time on a sofa, you want to know what you're sitting on.
that too. We see that there's a huge need or rise in what we call market hall, and the furniture parts is less than that way. So we have a natural flow when people want to go for kitchens and the like. Now, our job is to ensure that the delivery and that the online ordering is very seamless and very unproblematic for you. That's something we worked on quite some time, and we keep working on having the right systems also for our own people in the store. But we expect it to be an increase, and maybe not with the same numbers year on year. That would be very strange. But we do believe that we will have a very big part on the online part. That requires investments in how we communicate, what the opportunities are to you, and that it's very, very easy to maneuver on our websites and so on. So it'll be interesting to hear after the podcast, perhaps, how you experience that we do it today.
And you did mention that you bought a beanbag and it did not turn out, right?
Oh.
So with that, without mentioning names of which these marketplaces are, there have been a lot of e-commerce marketplaces that have seen a lot of rapid growth.
Yeah.
Does IKEA view these players as competition, or do they expand the category in a way that ultimately actually benefits IKEA?
I think it's a both and, really. I think the product I bought, obviously I would never have bought had we had it ourselves. So beanbag we don't have in the range, and that's fine. We can't carry everything. We are doing tests in China and in other markets to be on these platforms, but we're undecided on whether it actually helps us or not. Do I see them as competition? I usually focus on ourselves, really. I'm sure that we have lost some customers to certain things. I hear the stories now coming to Singapore. It's quite advanced compared to, for instance, Europe, I would say, of people going to IKEA and taking a photo of a plush toy and then uploading it to an unnamed web page. And, you'll always have these kind of cases.
Right.
The focus for me goes on ensuring that you always think about IKEA first when you go to these areas. And if we do the range well enough, if we do the presentation and we can inspire you well enough, then I'm happy.
The fact that they actually took the picture of the IKEA product to go and find it.
Yeah, that's fine. Then it's good.
All right. So you've led innovation and concept development across various IKEA markets. From your vantage point, 20 years. What shifts are you observing in what younger consumers are expecting from home furnishing in terms of design, utility, sustainability, and price accessibility? So it's kind of like, do you have a bird's eye view of what consumers want today?
Yeah. I think what I have taken with me through 20 years of being in this field and working with innovation, both on the product side and so on, it always boils down to the same thing. And it doesn't really matter if you're very young or very old. It can be degrees of it. People want quality at very affordable prices. And the reason why IKEA has been so successful through so many years is that we want to be for the many people. That means that when we actually, through our volumes, can lower our prices, we give it on to the consumers. We always want to be affordable for the many people. That's really number one. Then the quality has to fit that. That's why I actually just welcome the online competition, because I myself have tried since I came, due to lack of time, to use a lot of these on different articles, right? And you just don't know really what the quality is. Sometimes it's okay, and sometimes it's like, whoa, this...
It's a gamble.
It is a gamble, isn't it? And then the functionality of a product. And this is also very, very important, where we, through so many years, through design, really put everything into how, not just to make a product look beautiful, but also make it functional. It could be cable management just because we sit here, or other things, right? Those are the things that are still valid for tomorrow's consumers. Now, the new thing that has kind of come in is twofold, I guess. Sustainability is an ever-growing. It has a bit of different levels in different markets, but it's consistently growing. That is also a hugely important aspect of choice. And with that, we also see an increasing degree of more politically, through conviction, consumerism. So people actually buy where their heart is. They want to have brands that stand for something, as you asked initially. They will choose also brands. The loyalty you cannot take for given. So as they develop their points of view, you need to sort of develop it accordingly. So those are the things that are relevant for consumers, we believe. And that's also what we have to ensure at all times to have present in our range. It's not enough to talk about it if it's not in the range. I think that's what's very important with the marketing approach that we take, that whatever we communicate and talk about, you have to be able to experience in the store, in the products.
I want to catch on what you said about sustainability because I know it's definitely a really huge thing for specific European markets and even Sweden itself. How is it here in Southeast Asia, in Singapore? Is it slowly gaining pace? Are we seeing that happening?
Yeah, actually one of the core values of IKEA that was just added on to our core value system not so many years ago. We have a government here that has really also committed themselves to think more sustainable, to have sustainable thinking in everything from city planning to everything else. And I think we play a role there. Sustainability and health and quality of air, I mean, it's all the same thing. And I think it plays a big role. I was in a BTO yesterday. My colleagues were presenting how we had furnished it. And I asked, so who are the people that have ordered this? They were abroad at the time. They said, it was a couple with a son, and their son suffered from asthma. They've lived in Europe for a period of time. They found out that it's only with the IKEA furniture that he actually doesn't have the same amount of issues. And that's because we don't have any formaldehyde in anything. So that quality commitment to sustainability and health, because those things are actually really connect, I think is a given thing. And that's something that will rise in intention as well and in importance. I would look at it this way. We have a huge potential here in Singapore to be part of a positive movement in that direction.
And also glad to hear that there's a very stringent formaldehyde testing there.
That I can promise you.
Right. So finally, I think to wrap up the conversation, Michael, as you look ahead at Singapore's evolving retail landscape, what do you believe will define the next wave of consumer expectations in home living? And how is IKEA preparing to meet those shifts?
Yeah. Singapore is a market that is facing, of course, increasing living costs. It's a market where hopefully also will still expand, both in terms of population and other things. And that will bring new challenges to Singapore as a society. Hopefully it will continue the very impressive development and the whole Singapore story that was started in 65. We will contribute with high quality products, low prices, with functionality that helps the sort of challenges that everybody faces here, with space and so on and well-being. We believe we have the answers with the range, and with that we hope to be a continuous part of the Singapore story.
Looking forward. And on that note, thank you so much, Michael, for joining me on this episode of In Conversation.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And for the listeners out there, don't worry, although this interview with Michael la Cour of IKEA Singapore is over, you can check out more In Conversation episodes and other marketing connected interviews on your favorite podcast platforms. Be sure to follow us on Marketing Directive's social media pages such as LinkedIn, Telegram, Facebook, and Instagram. Thank you for tuning in to Marketing Connected, brought to you by Marketing Interactive. Goodbye, everyone.